Hey everybody, I got Wayne today. So Wayne, here's the deal. Does it even pay to buy a house in 2025 anymore? Okay, let me throw out a hypothetical here.
I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah, you're a real estate agent. I know that.
Default answer should be.
Okay, you saved $50,000.
Uh-huh.
What should you do? Should you put it down on a house, or should you rent and invest on, stocks
Yeah.
or something? That's what we're going to talk about today. Because, to be honest with you, I don't know if it pays to buy these days. I really don't. Okay, let's look at some quick facts real quick. Okay, let's look at rates, payments, affordability. The 30-year fixed rate, as of September 4th, was hovering around 6.5%.
Okay.
Okay, that's from Freddie Mac. The typical mortgage payment is $2,631. That was taken mid-August 2025 from a weekly market update in Redfin. Okay, but here's the kicker. Housing Affordability Index, it dropped to 94.4 as of June 2025. You know, because a lot of people want that at 100.
Yep.
Okay, so, and we're going to go down a bunch of reasons why it may be still a good time to buy, but I think the American dream of, okay, I need to buy a house and then I'll have kids.
Right.
And,
The traditional.
the traditional thing.
Okay, so maybe that's the problem. We're still thinking traditional.
Go for it.
All right, so I'm not just saying yes, it's the right time to buy a home now. I'm gonna fall back on the default, which is it's always the right time to buy a home, except for when there's a crash, and then it's not a good time for you to step into it. We know there are a lot of factors, but so far in Florida, in our area, and I'm not, saying this is across the board. We haven't had a crash. We've had slowing down. We've had pockets that weren't doing good. And to that extent, I don't recommend buying in those areas. But as far as home ownership, I think you and I touched on this earlier. The norm, the American tradition, has to somewhat change. Maybe you have 2 generations living in a home. Maybe you have 3 generations living in a home, and then you put some of that money into the market and invest it. Now, I come from a very unique space. I have my investment license, so I do tell people how to invest, and I invest for them into the market. I do property management, so I know the rates, and I know what tenants are paying in rates, in rent. And here's one of the things that I see constantly with my tenants. They never find a way out. They are renters, and they're going to be renters, and they get into that habit. And I don't think they'll ever achieve home ownership just because of behavior.
So let me talk about that for a second. The 30% rule. Basically, okay, the 30% rule is basically your gross income. You shouldn't have to pay more than 30% on housing of your gross income, okay?
Right.
But that's being blown out of water. Now it's 40, 50%,
Right.
sometimes 60%, even with rents, okay? And the rule basically on buying a house is, buy a house if you plan to be in there 5 to 7 years.
Right. But on average, people are selling their homes 3 to 7 years. So that also has, I don't know if we're looking at this in the best light, quite honestly. Let's say your home is an investment, which the investment people are going to shriek. And why do I say that? It's an investment in your quality of life, how you're living, how you learn to budget things, because everything is your responsibility. Something goes wrong with a home, you've got to fix it, right? And you've got to have money put aside. So I think there are management tools in there that people could benefit from in their outside life, not just looking at the home and saying, I'm going to buy a home. This is my investment. This is a good place to park my money. And that's the end all be all. I'm going to take it as it's a step towards the ultimate goal that you want to have, because you're going to have to save money. You're going to have to prepare for emergencies, and your property is going to most likely increase. So will your money in the stock market. You have to do all of these different things, though. not just
Just
one.
not just one in the house.
Not just
but let me
one.
ask you a question. A lot of people are buying houses with less than 20% down now.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they pay PMI,
Yeah.
MIP.
Yep.
Is that smart in your opinion?
So I guess I'm the eternal optimist, and I want you in a home. So right now we discussed that the new home construction industry is the one that's really taking over and dominating, right? They're buying down the rates, so it's more affordable. They're taking 3%, 5%, conventional, 10% on some conventionals. So people are getting into homes that with less. That being said, if the buyer is qualified, let's say they had 20%, you were able to save up 20% towards that home purchase. Would I recommend that you avoid the PMI? Absolutely. That's the type of stuff I would say. But I would also say hold on to that money, put it into the stock market, let it appreciate, let it grow. And then if there's a scenario that is requiring some of those funds, you can take it out and use it. But for the most part, your habits have to change.
All right, let's talk about does it pay to rent, okay? When renting actually is a smarter move, okay? But let's look at some facts real quick. Renting is cheaper than buying in 50 of the largest metros. Mortgage costs usually is 38% more than the average rent, okay? Typical single family rents $100 a month cheaper than typical mortgage. That's what basically
Yeah.
it's been lately. A survey came out and rent has become cheaper than owning, especially here in Florida between taxes, insurance. Like I've
Right.
always said, in Florida, if they could solve the tax problem and the insurance problem,
Yeah.
everybody would move here.
Yeah.
You know?
Mostly the insurance problem. Because again, I think I've mentioned this on one of the other videos before. Other states are kind of adjusted to a higher property tax than we are. We're slowly catching up to them, or maybe quickly catching up to them, because there's been such a big boom. But we're catching up to them, and it's something that the governor is talking about, the Senate's talking about. So we're already pivoting towards moves. So again, I said on your podcast that this is an unpopular opinion, but if the property taxes for homeowners disappears here in Florida, you're looking at an increase of tens of thousands of dollars. So now, if the 300 or $400,000 home isn't affordable to most people, what do you think the 500 or 600,000 homes are going to be? It's absolutely going to push that beyond
Do you really
that
think they're going to be
affordability.
able to push through no property taxes?
I'm going to be the optimist and say, yeah, I think. Now, is it a shell game? Are you not going to pay it here, but you're going to pay it somewhere else?
Yeah, they're going to
Sure.
increase sales tax or
I
something.
mean, yeah, but as a homeowner, maybe that's good enough. And I think overall, I'm looking at the true homeowners, not the investors, not the the seasonal and the tourists and the people that come here and like it and they just the visit stays. No, not that stuff. I'm looking at the homeowners because the people that work and live here, the wages haven't caught up to where they can afford a home. So any relief they get, and when we're talking about this overall, your home increasing is equity for you. That is long-term beneficial for that person. So that's the residents
But right
here.
now, if you bought a house in Florida and plan to sell it 2 years, you're not going to make money.
No, you're not even gonna get what you put back into it.
No.
I've had people come to me, and they bought from out of state, and they're living here, and now they want to go, but they can't get what they paid for it.
Right, that's
Especially
right.
with the 20% down that they put. You put 20% down, it's gonna take you a few years before you break even in that whole equation. So what are you gonna do?
And properties, and people there was a property, the estimate tax bills came out here in Florida.
Yep.
And everybody's flipping out on Facebook saying, well, my value went down, but my taxes went up. And people don't understand that, say you bought the house for 200,000 and then it increased to 400,000, the value. And then it dropped down to 300,000 because the values have dropped down. The county and the state is still going to increase your property taxes till they reach that 300,000. So you're going to get that 2.93% increase
Right,
every year.
right.
Like people don't understand that, but there's still some more benefits of renting. Okay, lower monthly burn because you don't know, if something breaks in the house. Flexibility. If you want to move, if you need to get a new job, you could just leave. You don't have to sell a house.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to be there short term, 1, 2, 3 years, like I always said, people moving to Florida, they should rent first for the first year or two,
Absolutely.
and then before
Absolutely.
buying.
You got to learn your area. You got to learn the lay of the land. We rented for a year before we purchased when we moved here.
Yeah, people are always saying, well, there's, you're throwing away money by renting.
No.
If you're buying in Florida, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you're buying in Florida with the plan to sell in a year or 2 or 3 years, you're throwing away money too.
Yep.
There's no difference whether you're renting or
Yeah.
buying, you're throwing away the money.
Yeah. Like I said, I do a lot of different things in the real estate. I do property management. So I have homes that weren't able to be sold because the expectation for what that person, that buyer, the owner is wanting now in the market is not there. The buyers can't afford it. So what do? They cover it by renting. And rent has increased quite a bit. And like you said, it's still cheaper than the mortgage, but in the long term, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing my tenants now moving more north because they have to move to where it's affordable. So again, you're going to be priced out. I just don't think you eventually land on your feet of home ownership, which we're talking about. The American dream is home ownership, right?
Is it still the American dream?
Well, I think we might have gotten, and this might be going down a different path, but I think we've gotten down to the point where the American dream is having things because, and not really just enjoying them. We're in this, we used to call it the YOLO, you only live once, and I want to have the nice car. I want to have, because that's what I can afford. I want to have nice things in the house. I want to have these things. Not so much of, I want to have a home, a car that gets me A to B, and a comfortable lifestyle. Now we're at a point where people are saying, I want to have these things now. I'm not waiting, and it's getting so expensive, I'm not going to do it. So they're renting. And the 100% proof that people are and society has changed is that we have firms that are renting to own.
Yeah.
So if you're slapping the label rent to own on a home, you're targeting a majority of the population then. And those people are going to say, oh, well, I already pay rent, and now it's a nicer looking property because rentals haven't typically been taken care of, right? Mm-hmm. So now you take a brand new construction home and turn that into a rent to home, you're doing a disservice to those people because you know the clientele that you're getting.
But that's where new builders are going with, because they're still building these houses, and there's going to be a big push to rent to own from these big.
The businesses are business. They're in there to make a profit, right? Mm-hmm. So which way are they heading? They're telling you, hey, we see this clientele. They'll never get a home, but we can con them. Sorry for using that term, but we're going to dupe them into thinking this is ownership, and they're going to rent, and they don't understand the contracts. That this is something else I spoke about. A lot of people don't think you need the representation of a realtor. You think, oh, we're here to just get your money for doing stuff that you could just sign your name on. Most people don't read what they're signing. They don't understand it even. So they're just signing to get what they want. And then a year later, they're looking at this and saying, oh, I can't afford this because they didn't read something. Or they slip up, life gives them a left turn, and they're, no longer in a home.
Well, let's look at why ownership still wins in the long run, okay? Here's some quick facts, okay? The median net worth of a homeowner was $396,200 versus a renter, $10,400 in a 2022 survey from Consumer Finance.
Whew.
Okay? Whew. Average owner equity, $302,000, quarter one of 2025. Home equity gains, okay? Negative equity, 2.1% of mortgage owners early 2025. So a lot of people, even in 2025, have a lot of equity in their house.
Yep.
So that alone proves on the long term, like people really have to understand that home ownership, in order for it to be smart,
Yeah.
has to be long term.
That is the cultural problem. You know why? Because we're in the society of instant gratification.
Right. That
Everyone wants it now. I bought a home. 6 months from now, I should have $50,000 in equity. Where's that thinking coming from? You know, it's absolutely ludicrous. This is long term. You're and this goes to a lot of things that we talk about, like pride of home ownership, okay, or pride of ownership. If you own something, you work on it, you invest the time, you invest the money, and you reap the rewards later. Same thing with investing. If you started at 20 and retired at 65, you'd be fine consistently. I don't care what the amount is. If you did that, you'd beat someone that puts a large sum in a short amount of time.
all right. So if somebody bought a house now,
Yeah.
how many years do you think they need to be in that house before they said, okay? Because don't forget, once you buy a house, you're going to paint it, or
Right.
you're going to change the water heater,
Yeah.
or maintenance.
Yeah.
There's always money put into it.
Yeah.
You know, even me on my house, it's not that old, this house, but I could guarantee you I'm spending at least 10 grand doing something a year.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
plus insurance. So how many years would you say it'll take to say, okay, it was worth buying a house?
Okay, so there's a turnaround and a break point based on how much the person puts down and so forth. But what I'd like to do is change it. It should never be a point that they sell the home. I think at a certain point, people need to purchase a property, and then when they feel like they need to move, turn that into a rental, turn it into an investment of some sort, whatever that may be, bed and breakfast, maybe they switch it over, rezone it to commercial if their area allows that. I think they need to hold on to it and keep it long term,
Yeah, but
because you really see the benefit of that asset.
Yeah, but the problem with that too is a lot of people's savings is in their house.
That's the problem. But you said it. That's the problem. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't
They
be
need the money from their house
to buy the other one.
to buy the other
We're
one.
seeing that, you have to sell this house. That's the contingency. And in order to purchase this one, but why? We're getting back to the same thing where we want the instant gratification. Sorry. Keep the house and find a lender that's going to structure it. And I know there's some lenders out there that are like, hey, yeah, if you can get a lease that shows the market value of this property. Let's say you did buy a home and your mortgage is $2,400, but the rent in the area was $2,800. That's $400 in positive cash flow that they have on paper, right? A good lender is going to tell you it may be more work for them, but that's okay. Let them work. Let them do the job, and let them write you a loan that will factor that in with your income and qualify you for something. That's the other thing. People are now taking that money. Okay, I bought a home. I'm taking 50,000 out, and that's going to be my down payment, which is going to get me the bigger home, just so I can show other people the bigger home.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, it's just, isn't that risky? Okay, you're gonna put renters in the house, and to make $500 or $1,000. What if the renters don't pay you the expenses? What if something breaks?
Yeah,
Y-
and I wouldn't recommend that in every state. And I know you have a wide reach. So Florida is very much landlord friendly, and that's probably why I'm speaking from that point.
Okay.
If we were up in New York, I tell you sell it before anything. I tell you move out and list that house, and then purchase your other property. Again, it's based on your market, and this is why you need the professionals to advise you. You need someone in New York. One of the best ways to sell a home is to have a vacant home. The empty property shows better.
Oh yeah, I think it's true here too.
Well, down here, they like to see the stage. We have a lot of people, I think, that come from out of state, and they can't imagine. They're dealing with a new style, a new layout, new format of homes. And when they see it, they just feel more comfortable seeing a staged home. That's why they have the model homes, so people can see, oh, this is how this should go and so forth. And that's what does the sale. And I think that's what you really need to concentrate on. But I think culturally, we got to change some things.
So, last two questions.
Okay.
Is the American dream of home ownership, yes or no, still alive? Or is it what you said, depends?
I think it's still alive.
Okay. If you're going to buy, especially here in Florida, is new construction the way to go? I know I'm going off the side topic a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
The reason why I'm going with that is some of the existing homes, like the rates are higher, the 6.5. But like
100%.
if you go to new construction, they buy it in bulk, so you get a
Right.
cheaper rate,
Yeah.
less maintenance.
Yeah.
Everything's brand new.
Correct.
You know, they're putting a hurting on pre-existing homes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And that market is right now, sellers are pulling their property from the market. The inventory when it comes to new construction homes versus resale homes are very drastic. So the new construction homes offer a better rate. There's a lower interest rate, less money that you have to put down. The maintenance on it is going to be basically 1 year. You're good for most things. And then you're looking at what's the downside? Well, the layout. You're on top of your neighbor. That's what you're going to have to deal with. Is it going to be as stylish as the resale homes? No. So it's going to be the budget that's driven, because we're talking about $500 a month difference between these
Yeah.
two homes, just with the interest rate and what the sellers are expecting. Sellers have not adjusted.
I mean, some
their
areas don't have new construction. You know,
Right.
we have new construction here in the area,
Yeah.
so it's easy for us to talk about. But at the same time, you know, yeah, you're optimistic. I'm just realistic, saying because I do so many with the cost of insurance and taxes.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of people are coming here and they're like, I'm doing inspections of people along the water, you know, waterfront properties,
Oh,
canals.
yeah.
And they say, oh yeah, I can afford the taxes, like, you know, and then they go get insurance, and the insurance is $1,000 a month.
Yep.
You know, you really being house poor is the worst thing in the world. You'll be excited about the house when you first move in, maybe for the first 60, 90 days.
Yeah.
But then the payments keep coming after month, and the excitement will wear off. You looking at the water, it's going to wear off.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. And the house poor situation is the worst thing that could happen. That's my opinion. I hate seeing people that are house poor.
Right. And again, house poor speaks to what people are going to be able to afford. So stop buying those homes. I've had this conversation. I have some good friends, and they waited 3 years as renters. They were waiting, and they finally got the ideal home. It took them 3 years, and I'm sure they weren't happy about where they're at. But understanding that situation, I got to tell you, if the property taxes fall off next year, well, their situation's different. But property taxes not being a factor, interest rates being lowered, and I think by next six months to a year, they're going to be in such a better financial position. They're actually going from renting to being house rich.
All right. I mean, that's unique. But
It's unique, but what did it cost? It cost them 3 years of renting. So don't jump into home ownership too soon, prematurely. Yes, I'm telling you, home ownership is the goal, and I want you there. I want you to have that for yourself. But I think there's timing too. I don't want to get you, and I've never put any of my clients into a situation where it doesn't work for them. I talk closely with the lenders and say, is this affordable? Is this something we can do? What do their numbers look like? Because I don't want to get a call in 6 months and saying, hey, we really can't do this. I don't know what made us think we could afford this. You know, that's a horrible feeling, because they're going to lose.
I'll give you a quick example. Okay, this couple I did an inspection for not even a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling their home, and they needed something from me. And I said, what happened? They're like, we love the house, but they qualified for a mortgage because the husband was getting overtime for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And he didn't get fired. They just cut his overtime.
Overtime, right.
And
Yeah.
now he has to sell the house at a loss
Yeah.
because they didn't put the 20%, they didn't have enough equity.
Right.
And they were house poor. They were always stressing over the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways, I just think you in these day and times, yes, the goal is to have a house for a lot of people, but you can't be house poor. I'll
Nope.
leave it at that. Okay.
Same.
So that's today's video. Do me a favor. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. And remember, if you need a real estate agent anywhere in Tampa Bay, Florida, United States, my phone number's below and there's a link below. And watch this video right here. I picked it out for you. And thank you. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.